Welcome back to Folding Ideas. Let's talk about dudes. Bros, dudes, homies, the fellas, boys, or just men. Guys in modern culture have an odd relationship. This is a big subject and we have a lot to cover, so we're gonna make a thing out of it. That's right, we're making a thing. This is Man Media Movie Month. So let's get ready. We've got all kinds of man stuff, like this baseball cap and... Okay, we've only got the baseball cap. First up in is a look at the Tony Danza 1989 classic, She's Out of Control.
From the greatest oldies to the most unforgettable classics, your rock and roll memories are safe with us. 97.5 KHEY FM.
Hey, hey, Southern California!
What, you don't remember this blockbuster sensation? Okay, so the film itself is, for the most part, an inoffensive and completely forgettable bit of late 80s Southern California tripe, proving that the independent film community can produce garbage that is just as cliched and churned out as any fill-in-the-blanks comedy Hollywood can come up with. Hell, pretty much the only reason I even know about this feature-length sitcom is because I saw it on sale for $5 at Safeway. That's right, not being sluiced out by a closing Blockbuster, not the crap bin at a Best Buy, not even the shady downtown corner gray market DVD peddler. A grocery store. Little did I know what I'd actually acquired. This movie is such a mash of banal, recycled ideas that it slips into the surreal. Nothing makes sense, and space and time warp and buckle under the discordant strains of the script. At any moment, I was expecting the fabric of Tony Danza's reality to rip open, pouring out a million minions of Dagon and Azathoth come to harvest our thought meats to power their fear engines. Sadly, there is no such beautiful bait and switch. There's just a really, really lame one. So let's dig in. She's Out of Control isn't about a she at all. The working title of the film was Daddy's Little Girl, but that's not accurate either. It's not about the girl. It's about Daddy. Oh, that's the bait and switch, by the way. Yeah, it's about a guy in his late 30s.
Really?
Not the teen daughter, the guy. Nope.
No need to explain to
Yep.
me. I did the same thing.
So this is our main character, Doug Simpson, played by Tony Danza. This character is basically a Mad Lib of Danza's most successful role as Tony Maselli on Who's the Boss. Replace baseball with radio and Connecticut with LA. Both of them have a case of dead wife, both of their central conflicts revolve around the women in their lives, and both are an unintentional bastion of impotent masculinity. So the movie opens with Doug trying to assault Wallace Shawn before jumping out of the window of the radio station he manages. This is intended to create mystery and suspense, but really it's just a confusing setup for the framing device and heartwarming finale. The bulk of the movie is framed as a flashback as Doug tells his story to the two least competent police detectives ever. The rest of our major players are Doug's girlfriend, his therapist, the oldest daughter, the gay boyfriend, the dangerous boyfriend, the rapist, and the youngest daughter. The oldest daughter is dating the gay boyfriend but breaks up with him on her 15th birthday at a 50s diner-themed disco? Man, cocaine is a hell of a drug. Doug leaves for a conference, the girlfriend gives the oldest daughter a makeover montage, Doug comes home and flips his lid because in the week since she was converted into a hottie, she's got every boy in the entire city looking to bone her. Okay, at this point here, when I was watching for the first time, I made two notes. Least reliable narrator ever, and I think Doug just lost his mind. See, when we first bought the movie, here's what I predicted. Girl gets a makeover, gets a boyfriend, and dad thinks she's on drugs, but it's just a wacky misunderstanding. Then she gets into real trouble, dad saves the day, and in the end, dad and daughter both learn important garbage about blah 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 trust because blah 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 forever, but dad needs to blah 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 lighten up, and daughter needs blah 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 obey. He needs to relax, but ultimately the parental judgment is vindicated because teenage boys are rapists in training. So, what happens? Party, makeover, boys, beach, psychiatrist, car, psychiatrist, proposal, psychiatrist, grounded, psychiatrist, prom, date rape, daddy save, fight, happy ending.
Hey, look, excuse me, miss. We have to go.
It's a sitcom plot that you'd normally cram into 30 minutes along with a B-plot about the doofus brother trying to jump his bike over the swimming pool. This is a feature film though, so they have to pad it out. And pad it they do! How? Repetition. They pad it by repeating themselves. Like, they do something, then they do it again in an arbitrary bid at making the film longer. To pad the runtime. Padding. Here's why I thought Doug had lost his mind. When he finds out that the oldest daughter has attracted the attention of every rapist in training in LA, he vows that he'll be a real manly man and take control of his household because he's the dad.
Total control.
This is followed by a montage of rapists being turned away at the doorstep. After the montage, Doug tosses and turns in bed, driven to fever dreams where he vows total control.
Total control. The door. Take a message.
Then they do the montage again, with completely new rapists. That's right, a completely new, but functionally identical montage of junior rapists lining up to rape Daddy's little girl. I was pretty sure the film had lost its mind at that point. I was starting to really hope that it would continue a long, slow, degrading descent into delirium and madness, really break this character over its knee. It goes back to boring sitcom mode for a bit, but I had really high hopes for a complete rail jump when the beach scene came up. There's this moment where Doug is trying to desperately hold on to his version of reality where his daughter is just his child and he's the only man in her life, and then it all comes crashing down as he realizes that his daughter is willingly sexualizing herself, all the rapists on the beach are looking at her, and there's nothing he can do about it. Everywhere he looks, dicks and rapists. Honestly, this moment is amazing, and it's wasted in this movie. See, there's a perfect two-part break here. Like, there's the initial moment where the structural integrity actually fails. He waves her into shore and then sees her running, her bosom bouncing in her swimsuit. Then this happens. This face, right here, is the moment his reality actually broke. He keeps going, but he's a car with a broken drive shaft. All that's carrying him forward is inertia. He tries to brush it off. That snapping sound wasn't anything serious. I just need to give it a bit more gas. Then, she challenges his reality.
You're acting like every man on this beach is after my body. It's after my body. It's after my body.
I prayed in that moment his mind would snap completely, and he'd be back in Nam stabbing Charlie for America while his body assaulted this kid with his own popsicle stick. It would be equal parts terrible and glorious, a legend of cinema. No one would ever forget the Tony Danza film that started with the Brady Bunch and ended with Rambo. Instead, it's just crap. There's a chuckle to be had when his fancy car gets hit by a train, and there's a strange fun to be had when a young Matthew Perry shows up as an overachieving date rapist, but that's about it for fun. Aside from that, it's just a load of subtext of men as impotent prisoners in their own lives.
Men are so insecure.
See, there's almost an intelligent point being made here, but it's being made all wrong. And this is a theme that we're going to explore more in depth over the rest of the month. There's this theme that Doug is trapped and foiled by the women in his life. Everything was fine when it was the status quo. Everyone was mostly happy and secure. Then the man left the women alone, and they went and messed everything up.
We love you.
They messed it up by bringing other men into the picture, and men hate each other because other men are all thieves, liars, and rapists.
It's boys that are happening to these girls, Mr. Simpson. Do you have any idea how many times the average teenage boy thinks about sex in a day?
See, he's not even safe from the men that he chooses to interact with. His bosses threaten his job security, his psychiatrist dispenses faulty advice, and the happy ending includes a bit where Doug agrees to verbally fight his psychiatrist every week on the radio for public entertainment. I know that a lot of this isn't new observations about culture and themes. There's a lot of discussion out there about the male gaze and what it means for culture, but honestly, most of the discussion I see is talking about the impact on the female and queer population. Don't get me wrong, that's very important, but let's take another look at this for a second. What is a man in a movie? Angry, defensive, bad at communication, helpless, ignorant, incompetent, better off when he listens to his own instincts, prey to larger predators?
Get out of there, little fella.
Little fella. Total control.
Men are so insecure.
It's boys that are happening to these girls.
We're also saddling Janet with a built-in family. You really think that's fair?
You teasing little bitch.
I've got 5 boys. Thank God.
This depiction of men as helpless slaves of their base desires still operating off of caveman logic? Yeah, that's all part of male gaze. And you know what? That's an almost terrifying amount of inward aggression and self-loathing. So, you know what, guys? I think we need to have a chat.